Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome to my first movie collection analysis, where I'll be talking about movie series, productions, characters, and kind of the plot and what I like about them in each movie. And I think Jurassic Park Trilogy would be a great start. Movies about cloning dinosaurs. So the first movie I'm going to talk about is Jurassic Park. So this movie is about an old man, John Hammond, who creates a theme park with cloning dinosaurs using DNA of mosquitoes. Dennis Nedry shuts the system down, letting the dinosaurs out of their place and making the park a dangerous place. This is based on the Jurassic Park novel by Michael Crichton. Before it got released, Steven Spielberg learned about it and was fascinated by it, saying a really credible look at how dinosaurs might someday be brought back alongside modern mankind. Crichton wanted non-negotiable $1.5 million for the film rights, so it was going to be Warner Bros. Directed by Tim Burton, then Columbia Pictures directed by Richard Donner, 20th Century Fox directed by Joe Dante, so it went to Universal Studios and directed by Steven Spielberg. After he did Hook movie, to those who hasn't seen the movie, what are you doing? Stop watching this video and go and watch Jurassic Park films. They're definitely worth your time. To those who have seen it, then brilliant, let's carry on the conversation. Steven took the inspiration of Godzilla from one of his childhood movies, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and said the most masterful of all the dinosaur movies because it made you believe it was really happening. Bob Gurr, who designed a giant mechanical King Kong for Universal Studios Hollywood's King Kong Encounter, got hired to create dinosaurs, but the life-size dinosaurs were too expensive. So Stan Winston got hired instead and created animatronic dinosaurs. Phil Tippett did the go-motion dinosaurs supervised by Michael Lantieri, and Dennis Muren, digital compositing supervised by Jack Horner. Spielberg wanted to make the dinosaurs more like animals than monsters, so as the book got adapted into the movie, some scenes had to be ditched because of the budget and violence. Procompsognathus attacking a child, and T-Rex chasing Alan, Lexi and Tim down the river and being tranquilized by Muldoon. David Koepp got hired as a screenwriter recommended by Universal president Casey Silver. In terms of the characters fleshing out, unlike the book, they didn't explain the character's personal life so much because no one cares, such as Ian Malcolm flirting with Ellie Sattler, making Alan Grant jealous. In terms of the casting of Alan Grant, William Hurt was considered for the role, but he turned it down without reading the script, and Harrison Ford was considered, but he didn't do it because it was too similar to Indiana Jones. So Sam Neill got the role, and I think he's perfect. Alan Grant is definitely my favourite Jurassic Park character. Alan is a dinosaur expert and Jurassic Park hero type character. Jeff Goldblum played Ian Malcolm, who's a mathematician. I love that character, and Goldblum nailed the role. Before he was casted, Jim Carrey was considered for the role. Laura Dern played Ellie Sattler, who's paleobotany and a good friend to Alan Grant. Spielberg's first choice was Laura Dern, even though Robin Wright and Gwyneth Paltrow and Helen Hunt were considered for the role, and I think Laura is great as Ellie. Richard Attenborough plays John Hammond, who created Jurassic Park. He did a fantastic job. Sean Connery almost had the role. When Ariana Richards is casted as Lex Murphy, John Hammond's granddaughter and a computer hacker, they got her to scream and it woke Spielberg's wife up and she ran into the room to see if the kids were okay, as Spielberg watched the tape of few girls screaming. Joseph Mazzello played Tim Murphy, John Hammond's grandson and Lexi's younger brother. The acting from the two kids were fantastic. I definitely buy that they're really scared. We gotta love Samuel L. Jackson as Arnold, the chief engineer. Bob Peck is a badass as Robert Muldoon, who's a game warden and known to use a line as clever girl before getting eaten by a dinosaur. Martin Ferrero played Donald Gennaro, who's a lawyer to inspect Jurassic Park and later got eaten by T-Rex while sitting on the toilet after he left the kids in the car. B.D. Wong plays Dr. Henry Wu, who's the geneticist and recreated dinosaurs, absolute legend. Wayne Knight played Dennis Nedry, who's the architect, and got a deal from Dodgson to get frozen dinosaur embryos so he can get $1.5 million as he's having problems with his wages. But of course he's killed by a Dilophosaurus. Cameron Thor played Dodgson, who's the head of Biosyn, the company stealing ideas from the scientists. The cast did a splendid job with their roles. There's a great opening scene, it's pretty scary, and I love the shooter line, it's fantastic. Shooter! Shooter! The bit where Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and the people examining the bones and looking the computer about the history of dinosaurs are pretty interesting. This is one of the great things about the film, it tells us the history about the dinosaurs era. We get the iconic line like, "Welcome to Jurassic Park." Clever girl, as I said. You didn't say the magic word. Watch your butt, access me security. I always thought it was a miracle that Lexi and Tim ran to their granddad, John Hammond, as he got hugged and fell backwards onto the steps, and that he didn't break his hips. Kids! Yeah, that would be painful. It was intense when the T-Rex broke into the car roof trying to eat Lexi and Tim. When I first watched it as a kid, I thought it was going to eat the kids. And there's great moments where Alan, Tim and Lexi sleeping in the tree watching Brachiosaurus. The arm fell into Ellie's shoulder was pretty gross. This movie felt like a horror movie, such as that scene and when Lexi and Tim were on stealth mode from two velociraptors. The ending is fantastic. Jurassic Park was filmed mostly in Kauai and Hawaiian Islands, and it's considered beautiful despite the hurricane incident. Some of the effects of the dinosaur were used by Pixar's Renderman and Soft Image 3D, and Spielberg wanted this to be the first film with digital sounds, which I think it's impressive. The logo was taking inspiration from Henry Fairfield Osborn's skeletal diagram of Tyrannosaurus Rex, which came out in 1971. Great choice. I really love this film ever since I was a kid. The CGI and everything holds up pretty well. The acting, direction by Steven Spielberg and music by John Williams are a masterpiece. Next movie to talk about is The Lost World: Jurassic Park. This movie is about John Hammond sending Ian Malcolm and his team to Isla Sorna to study the animals and find Sarah, but there's another team called InGen to bring the dinosaurs to San Diego. So after the novel got released, the fans demanded Michael Crichton to make a sequel, but he didn't want to. Steven Spielberg, however, said if it was made, it would involve the retrieval of the canister that contains dinosaur DNA, lost during the events of the first film. So by the time Crichton finished writing the sequel, Steven Spielberg would produce it, but he wasn't sure if he was going to direct it because his life was changing, but eventually he got to direct it after John Johnston got offered, which he later directed the third Jurassic Park film. David Koepp got the letters from children giving him advices saying, as long as you have a T-Rex and Velociraptor, then we're all good. Also got reminded not to have a boring beginning having nothing to do with the island, and suggested to add Stegosaurus into the script. So the movie was filmed in Prairie Creek, Redwoods State Park and Fern Canyon. The bit where the little girl is attacked by Compsognathus, I thought she died, but thankfully she survived it, and I think it's nice to see some of the cast from the first movie returned, especially using Jeff Goldblum as Ian Malcolm for the main character. Julianne Moore played Dr. Sarah Harding, paleontologist and Ian's girlfriend. Spielberg admired her performance in the Fugitive movie. Roland Temple is a big game hunter. Art Malik was considered for the role, but he turned it down, so it went to Pete Postlethwaite. After Spielberg watched his performance in The Name of the Father, Arliss Howard played Peter Ludlow, Hammond's nephew, who's in charge of InGen and plans to bring dinosaurs to USA. The actors are fantastic. Vince Vaughn played Nick Van Owen, a photographer. I thought it was cool that he's in it. I've known Vince from Fred Claus, and he was so good in that. He got casted in this movie without a screen test, and Spielberg saw him in Swingers. Richard Schiff played Eddie Carr, who's an expert and dies trying to save Ian Kelly and Sarah by getting ripped in half by two T-Rexes. Vanessa Lee Chester played Kelly Curtis, Ian Malcolm's daughter, who stowed away in the transport to the island, and a gymnast. Spielberg met her at a Little Princess premiere, and Vanessa said that she was signing an autograph for him. He told her one day he'd put her in a film, which is nice. It's great to see Richard Attenborough, Ariana Richards and Joseph Mazzello returned as John Hammond, Lex and Tim Murphy. Even if it's a small scene, the dinosaur attack is outstanding. It's aged pretty well as the first movie. The bit where everyone's sleeping around in the island with dinosaurs patrolling was so intense. And my favourite part has got to be T-Rex in San Diego. What a scene. They added that because Steven was planning to do that in the third Jurassic Park film, but as predicted, he said he probably wouldn't have directed it, so he added that scene in The Lost World instead. Again, John Williams' music score and Steven Spielberg's direction are a masterpiece. It's a shame that a lot of people hated this movie. I don't think it's terrible. There's great stuff in there, as I've already mentioned. The fact that T-Rex are after their baby because the baby was getting held by Sarah and Nick was pretty intense. So the last of the original Jurassic Park trilogy. Coming up next is Jurassic Park III. The movie about a rescue mission where a couple tricked Alan Grant into going with them to Isla Sorna to rescue their son, as he's stranded there with the dinosaurs, and some things are about to happen. Steven Spielberg chose not to direct this movie as he said it would give him a tremendous headache just to think about it, and the first two were hard to make, which I bet. So he needed someone new to direct it, so Joe Johnston did it instead. Michael Crichton didn't write this novel, so Craig Rosenberg wrote this movie after Spielberg and Johnston was impressed with his work on Hotel de Love movie. In his script there was Chronosaurus, characters on motorbike trying to evade raptors but isn't in the film, and teenagers on Isla Sorna, but that got ditched. So Peter Butchman came along and rewrote some of it and added dinosaurs causing a series of mysterious killings on the mankind, followed by an investigation, and got Alan Grant, Billy and the family crash-landed in Isla Sorna. So the idea got changed to a couple going parasailing and gone missing to the island. Alan Grant is researching financial donors for a raptor research station that he wants to build in Isla Sorna. Then someone called Finch, is it Break from American Pie, offers Alan Grant exclusive research rights to the island if he will help the US government acquire jurisdiction over it. So Alan accepts and scheduled to testify along with someone called Simone at a hearing to be held to the next day in San Jose in Costa Rica. The next rewrite is Alan Grant meets a businessman called Paul Robbie, who offers him a donation if he will host an aerial tour of Isla Sorna. Alan accepts the offer and they flew over there, with Alan's graduate student Billy Hume, Paul's 12-year-old son Miles, Paul's bodyguard Cooper, and Paul's girlfriend Susan Brentworth. The plane hits an unidentified object and forced to land, but when it flies again it ended up hitting Spinosaurus. As a result, it crash-landed. It would have got some more of InGen when the characters stay over at the lab. Velociraptor snuck into the lab. After Billy stole the eggs, Cooper dies saving Miles. Billy gets killed by Pteranodon, and Alan decides to stay while the family leaves. The title of Jurassic Park Extinction was taking inspiration from the ending scene, but the crew didn't want that as a title because it would look like it's the end of the franchise. So the title was going to be Jurassic Park Breakout and the Extinction, but then got changed to Jurassic Park 3. Even though Joe Johnston said no one has been fond of the title, but you certainly knew what it meant. And I think bringing Sam Neill back as Alan Grant is awesome. As like I said, he's my favourite Jurassic Park character. Sam Neill was happy to come back as he said his performance in the first film could have done better, which I have no idea what he's talking about because I think he's perfect. And Joe Johnston described him in the third movie as more cynical and sarcastic. It's also great to bring Laura Dern back as Ellie Sattler. in this movie. She has 2 kids, one of them's called Charlie, and not sure about the other one. She split it up from Alan. They wrote that because the crew were uncomfortable about Alan and Ellie relationship because of the age gap. Laura hesitated to do a cameo in this movie, so they gave her more scenes and be responsible of rescuing everybody from Isla Sorna. William H. Macy did turn down playing Paul Kirby because of the commitments, but Laura Dern urged him to do it as they worked together in the Focus movie. Paul Kirby is a businessman who tricks Alan to go to the island in order to rescue his son. Ty Leone played Amanda Kirby, Paul's ex-wife. Trevor Morgan played Eric Kirby, Paul and Amanda's son who got stranded in the island. Michael Jata and John Deal played Udesky and Cooper, Kirby's soldiers. Although Udesky was a booking agent, Cooper gets snatched by Spinosaurus and devoured, and Udesky gets injured by raptors to set a trap. But because the Kirbys and Billy didn't fall for it, raptors chomped his neck. Bruce A. Young played Nash, the pilot who gets killed by Spinosaurs as well after the plane crashed. There's great development with the characters and fantastic acting. Alessandro Nivola played Billy Brennan, Alan's assistant. He also stole the raptor eggs, but later sacrificed himself to save Eric from the baby pteranodons. He's originally going to get killed off, but the actor didn't want to, which I'm glad they didn't, because I think this character needs to be forgiven, and I do like his chemistry with Alan Grant. I buy them as their buddies, and I'd love to see those two together again. Industrial Light and Magic and Stan Winston created CGI and animatronic dinosaurs, and I think it looks great. The dinosaurs in that look so real. They shot the movie in the island of Molokai, and apparently they didn't finish the script while shooting the movie. They didn't know what to do, but they got there in the end, which is how the movie ended up with 92 minutes long, when the first 2 are over 2 hours long, which I think it's done well for that. This is actually the first Jurassic Park film I've watched. I was about 5, I think, and I loved it. I used to reenact the scenes in a school playground with my friend, as we often imagine running away from dinosaurs. There's a scene where Alan has a nap in the plane. He has a dream with a raptor sitting next to him saying, "Alan, Alan," and woke up. I was like, whoa! And realised it was a dream. A lot of people hated that scene. I don't. I think it's the case of Alan having a PTSD after his experience in Jurassic Park. And I think this would happen to us if we get near-death experience like this. It gives us nightmares. After Cooper and Nash dies, the bit where Spinosaurus attacks everyone in the damaged plane and rolling it around looks pretty lethal, with the glass shattering and getting injured. And same goes with T-Rex and Spinosaurus fighting with each other. When I first saw the crispy skeleton scene with Amanda screaming at it, I actually thought it was alive and trying to attack Amanda, which gave me goosebumps, which I liked. That was nicely done. To those who think Amanda is annoying because of the screaming, well, in her defense, I'm pretty sure we'd be like that in real life. Think about it. If the real dinosaur comes towards us and about to attack, we'd freak out. And there's great running scenes. What I love about this movie is that it's got people running away from dinosaurs, finding a place to keep away from them, and then running away again. It makes it so intense. I love stuff like that. It shows us that the dinosaurs are the creatures that we want to keep away from. I actually thought it was pretty catchy with the sound of the satellite phone ringing. Me and my friend used to do this when we hear this ringtone. I often wonder, what if they use that as a ringtone?
Said ring, 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 a big up your phone. I said ring, 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 ring.
Yeah, we wouldn't have missed that. The poo scene is pretty gross, it definitely looked realistic. And I love the foggy bridge scene where Eric walks through it with the drumming music, Alan saying, "Oh my god, it's a birdcage," and Amanda wonders what's it for, and as Pteranodon appeared, that was bloody scary.
Ah! Eric! Eric!
And same goes for the scene while Billy gets attacked and Pteranodon looked at the camera thinking, "You're next." So yeah, I would say Jurassic Park 3 is my favourite out of the Jurassic Park films. It's so relatable, intense, and it's like those films in a horror channel where it's about running away from monsters, and also because of nostalgia. And I think this is a fantastic trilogy. There we go, I think this would be a great show to do, where I talk about films without crapping on them. It's just pretty much a documentary. If you like this video and want me to do more of these, please let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.